At Chipotle, we also have a playlist. Guacamole as it's being hand-mashed. The sizzle of adobo chicken on the grill. The chopping of onions and cilantro. We call our playlist Real. Order now. Chipotle. For real.
This episode is brought to you by Buffalo Trace Distillery. Powerful yet smooth. Contained but never tame. Proudly going their own way, but never going alone. This is the spirit inside Buffalo Trace Bourbon. Made at Buffalo Trace Distillery, the world's most award-winning distillery. Buffalo Trace is always perfectly untamed. Distilled, aged, and bottled by Buffalo Trace Distillery, Franklin County, Kentucky. 90 proof, 45% alcohol by volume. Learn more at buffalotracedistillery.com. Please drink responsibly.
I absolutely love this film. I would recommend it to anybody, even those who don't like sci-fi, I'm sure. But I think, given, as we've said, some of the places that we're at now in the world with AI and the things that are going on, I think it's the perfect sort of film to recommend to people.
When you sit there and there's some of the things around AI and where we are with tech today, you think, wow, that's actually, looking back, that was pretty impressive from a film released 26 years ago. And there's some really, really interesting themes that sort of run through it. So I do think it's a film worth watching that has some great effects.
Hey everybody, joining Flixwatcher today, we have TA.
Hi.
We have Rich.
Hello.
And Kobe.
Hey.
And we're going to be talking about The Matrix.
Thank you as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for editing this podcast and all of these episodes. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. And join the conversation with us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod or on Instagram at FlixWatcher. And also other social media platforms, just type in FlixWatcher and you'll find us.
Hello, film fans. Welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast. Our guests today are Rich and TA. Over to you, please, TA. Say hello to our listeners and tell them a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Hi, I'm T.A Shelano and I co-host the Middle-aged Bodcast with my friend Raging Rich. We are a couple of guys in their 40s from Birmingham, and we decided to set up a podcast looking at all things around sort of middle age, self-improvement, physical health, mental health, all manner of topics. It started off as just Rich and I chatting, and then since then we've been bringing a variety of guests in from the UK and America, and it's gone from there over the last sort of 12 months.
How long before you had these conversations did you decide it needs to be a podcast?
It was quite quick, actually. We spoke one day, and I think it was within a few weeks that it started. Rich actually bought me a book about podcasting, which I took on holiday, read it cover to cover by the pool, come back, and we kicked off. So, and then I forever was quoting the book, and he regretted buying it me.
What's the book in case anyone is looking for inspiration to start their podcast?
It was a beginner podcast or something like by Paul Teague, I think, who was a radio broadcaster who did quite a lot of podcasting early days. I don't think he does as much now, possibly. But yeah, it was, I forget the exact title of the book, but he gave various hints and tips, which I've occasionally sort of quoted back at Rich. And he sort of says, I can't believe that's the book you read by the pool.
I guess you read what you want on holiday, why not? Yeah, Rich, who are you?
So I am Raging Rich, the other co-host of the Middle-aged Bodcast, also known as the tech guy, and as TA likes to call me, the king of IT, even though I'm not actually that good at IT.
You just press the right buttons.
Is that an ironic name then?
I think it's just I'm better at IT than he is.
I think that's the kind of default thing, isn't it? It's just like...
Can I point out that Rich has been long known within our friendship groups as the sort of the person that you would go to for your IT related needs. And he did also do the cover design for my book, actually. So it's a terrible plug, but if you were to buy The Doctor's Hidden Patients, you would find cover design by Raging Rich on the back.
Well, I was just going to say... the conversation I hate having, the standard conversation I have with my parents or my parents-in-law are, there's something with my computer. And I'm like, I don't know. The answer is I don't know, but you just, because I'm younger and I know some things, that means I know everything, right? And it's like, I don't know the answer to that. I haven't used a Windows computer in at least 5 years, so that's already like going to annoy me. Yeah, so I get that. You're just by default, the most techie person. Therefore, you are the funnel for all kind of slightly techie
I
questions.
think so. I have unfortunately worked in web development for 25 years as well, so it kind of just has followed me around now. But
So, Rich, you've chosen the film today, which is The Matrix. Can you tell us why you chose it? And, yeah, the synopsis. I'm just thinking, when I said why you chose it, I was just thinking, why has this not been chosen before? And it probably just hasn't been on Netflix since we've been, like, live. But, yeah, anyway, why did you choose it? And give us the synopsis.
chose this because Keanu Reeves is one of my favourite actors out there, and this has always been in sort of my top 5 Keanu movies.
We're going to have to circle back on that, but carry on.
And then, as you say, Kobe, it seems like it's not been on Netflix for a while. It's now there. And just when I saw it on the list, I thought this is the perfect one for me. As T.A says, with the joking name of me being the king of IT, it just felt like the right thing to go for, really.
Okay, and your synopsis timer, 60 seconds, starts now.
Okay, so The Matrix is a 1999 sci-fi film starring Keanu Reeves as Thomas Anderson, a computer programmer by day and a hacker called Neo by night. He starts to feel like there's something not quite right with the world around him when he's contacted by a man named Morpheus, who's played by Laurence Fishbourne, who offers him a truth that he cannot ignore, that reality is a lie. The world that Neo knows is actually the Matrix, a computer simulation that's created by machines to keep humans under control while using their bodies as an energy source. And Morpheus believes Neo is the one, someone who can break the rules of the simulation and help free humanity. But to do that, Neo has to unlearn everything that he thinks he knows, face off against powerful programs called agents who effectively police the Matrix, and decide if he really is the one who can change everything and save the human race in the war against the machines.
Very nice. Yeah.
Boom, 6 seconds left. Very nice synopsis. Let's go around houses. I'm in the top left of my screen. I'm going to go to TA, then Helen, and Rich. How many times have you seen The Matrix, TA?
So I'd seen this film once at the cinema when it came out, and this is the second time watching it.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Helen?
Yeah, I saw it at the cinema and then rented it when it came out and then bought it on DVD when it came out and watched it. Admittedly, I haven't seen it recently and have been waiting for someone to pick it for quite a while. It has been on Netflix a while, and I'm like, guys, The Matrix is on the list. The Matrix has not been picked. The Matrix has not been picked. Someone is going to pick it. So here we are.
Rich?
Shockingly, I never saw this at the cinema. I've seen the sequels since, but never actually saw the first one at the cinema. It was recommended to me by a friend who lent me the DVD of it. I think I've probably seen this about 7 or 8 times, I would say.
Okay. So me having seen him like a million times then is the outlier. Well, to the extent I was like, do I even need to watch this again? The answer was potentially no. We had a similar thing with, well, not as ubiquitous here, but we have had, whether it's out now or not, we don't know, as this episode goes out, Jurassic Park, where everyone in that recording were like, we watched it, of course, because it's Jurassic Park, but we genuinely did not need to rewatch it because it's just like imprinted in our head since age 12. I've seen it tons. I didn't see it in the cinema, though, which is still like a sore spot for me. It was the same year that The Phantom Menace came out. Of course, you can see more than one film in the summer in the cinema, but this came out and I was just like, Keanu Reeves, and the kind of spots that you saw, the kind of the journalist spots that we saw on TV didn't make it look good. And then, but like everyone who saw it at the cinema was like, that was the best film of the summer. I was like, fuck it, damn it. Then I bought the DVD,
That
sight unseen.
cardboard case, Warner Brothers DVD, that wouldn't stand up in your DVD collection because it's a shit case.
Fucking annoying. And of course I saw the sequels in the cinema. Yeah, this film's great. The sequels have challenges, sure, and the final sequel has the most challenges. But I have actually, I should say, I did watch this in the cinema finally because I did like a re-release in the last 6 months, and I saw it in cinema in D-Box 4DX, and 4DX makes no sense for this, but I really enjoyed watching it in the cinema. So that's going to lean into the scores, certainly. Might take a few points from the small screen score. But I fucking love this film. Is it in my top 10? Probably. Possibly. Likely. Is it my favourite Keanu Reeves performance? I don't think it is. There's another film on this list that we talked about which I prefer. He's got like a really cool monologue. I'll get to that later, but look, this is just iconic. This is like beyond cool. I still want one of those Nokia phones, even though they were ridiculous then and even more ridiculous now, but I still want it. So everyone wanted leather jackets. I got a pair of sunglasses where I took the arms off
Did they stay on though? Did you?
No, I always had to be like slightly like, tilted back and shit. It was always like for show. It was always like at a party. It was not like just walking around with it. But yeah, I dressed up as Morpheus so many times at fancy dress parties. It was easy. Black jacket, black clothes, those sunglasses, job done. But yeah, back to you, Helen.
Yeah, so we maybe could talk about that a little bit more, but I am of the opinion that 1999 was the greatest year for cinema and produced some of the best films ever. And this came out in 1999. And I don't think I was into it as you were, Kobe, but I loved it. And I loved the soundtrack. I loved how cool everyone looked. I loved the action. There's so much of the dialogue that I use in regular day conversations, whether people like it or not. Like if you've ever been asked for a spoon and you reply, there is no spoon. It's just, that is the sound of inevitability. There's just so much in there. And it just came at a really interesting time, I think, especially for Keanu Reeves. He'd kind of came onto the scene and had kind of shone brightly and then took quite a bit of a kicking for quite a long time. And people weren't really taking him very seriously. And he is just one of these people who just like is really, really like wants to do well and really tries hard and really tries to kind of understand what he's doing in the film and really kind of give it his best. And like, as you say, Kobe, you weren't exactly like psyched for it, but for him to have this and to do what it did for his career and everything else is great. And also for Larry Fishbourne as well, someone who had been kind of like side characters before, really getting to own this. I just love everything about it. I love that weird shade of green that everything is. I love all the costumes. I just think it's like great. So yeah, thanks for picking it.
TA, how come you've only watched this twice? That's quite accusatory, wasn't it? You've only seen this twice. Why?
So
I hate it.
I feel like I'm going to be the wrong person in this group of four in this conversation because it is not one of my favourite films. So yeah, obviously I've watched it 26 years apart, once on a big screen and once on a small screen. And I would say my opinion hasn't particularly changed, although I've probably taken certain things out of watching it recently, which we may talk about, that I thought were particularly interesting, to reflect on given when it came out versus watching it now on the tech side. What I would positively say is I think the effects certainly stand the test of time and it does look really good. It just isn't one of my favourites. But it was the fourth highest grossing film of 1999 as well, interestingly. I noted, I think your Phantom Menace was number one.
Did you know what was above and directly below it?
Phantom
Menace was number one. Sixth Sense was number two. Okay. And then Toy Story 2 was third. So, but yeah, I think I looked and it was $467 million against a $63 million budget. So huge success.
But The Sixth Sense must have had a tiny budget though, unless Bruce Willis's fee was astronomical.
It may well have. That may well have been the best return total, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of,
I'd be surprised if it wasn't, yeah. And I'm quite surprised, or am I? I mean, Toy Story 2 was that low. Toy Story 2 is beaten by Sixth Sense, an R-rated film, versus Toy Story 2.
There was a big furore around The Sixth Sense. It had a big buzz, didn't it?
It was massive. It was all about what is that twist, and everyone had to fucking go to the cinema to see what that twist was. I don't know why I said it like that, but I really enjoyed the film, to be honest with you. So, but have I seen it again since the cinema? No. So, but I've seen Phantom Menace again, much to my chagrin, and I've seen Toy Story 2 infinite times, and Matrix infinite times as well. Okay, Rich, Keanu Reeves, and we're going to lean into the Emma Stone bit in a second. There's nothing wrong with Emma Stone, but it's also, I've just not ever heard anyone say that's their favourite actor, and it's great, why not? But also, let's go to Emma Stone first.
Okay.
Which are your Emma Stone performances?
I have to say I really love Zombieland.
Oh, okay.
That sort of did it for me. It's Superbad. I know she's not a main character in Superbad, but I just think
she's a big enough character in Superbad.
She's hilarious in that. I think that's a really good one. And Crazy Stupid Love as well. I absolutely love that film as well. I think she's brilliant in that.
So we have had actually Emma Stone in quite a few of our films. She's been in Crazy Stupid Love, which we talked about, and La La Land, which Helen loves to bits.
Easy A,
and Superbad as well. When she came on the scene in Superbad, I was like, well, she's fantastic. I will never see her again. But I'm glad that she keeps popping up here, there and everywhere and doing amazing stuff. I don't know why I scoff still, but it makes sense.
She's an Oscar-winning actress. She brings in the crowd. She does she's got range. She's been in comic book films. She's been in Yorgos Lanthimos films. She's great.
Yeah. It's a surprise. I completely understand it, but it took me by surprise. Maybe I wasn't expecting Keanu Reeves and Emma Stone. Maybe that's the
combo.
The side swipe.
They need to do a film together, and then Rich would be like, "Oh my god, this is my favourite moment ever."
That would be my favourite film of all time. Then
could she be in a John Wick?
No.
Why not? It doesn't have to be someone fighting, but then I guess you wouldn't. Would you have Emma Stone in the film, in a John Wick type film, and her not have a fight? Rich, okay, so tell me about Keanu.
Your top 5 then. Go on.
Oh, my top 5. Do you want me to go in reverse order?
Oh, if you've got it. You know.
Some people may find this a little bit of a shocking list. Number 5 is Point Break.
Mm-hmm. We've had that.
Number 4 is, shockingly to a lot of people, probably John Wick, the first one.
Okay.
Number 3, because it's the first thing I ever saw him in, and I still just have a really soft spot for the film, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, why you don't need to qualify.
Number 2 is this, and number 1 is probably the film that TA and I can quote massively, which is Speed.
Wow, interesting. Helen, where are you on Keanu?
So I love Keanu, even when people were haters. I loved him. So I did quickly write down a top 5, which is now a top 7. So in mine is Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was one of the first films.
So are you starting from the top or the bottom?
Say the top. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula and I love Keanu Reeves in it. And then maybe, I think I'm probably going to have to put Speed in, or I forgot to write that. So this is where it's going to get a bit long.
So it's 8 now, is it?
Point Break, which we covered, The Matrix, Parenthood, and then I also really like him in The Devil's Advocate and Constantine. He's just he's just done a lot of films that are really interesting. And I think he's just got a lot of films that mean different things to different people, in that I know a lot of people are haters on Bram Stoker, but like for me, I love it. I love him in it and I will defend him in it.
I do find it quite interesting that he has got a panning, because when you talk about all these films he's been in, some of these films are like stone cold classics.
He's done Shakespeare as well.
I mean, okay.
Not very well.
She's done it. But like I said, Bill and Ted, two like iconic in the 90s films, both of them, which one you prefer, but that was like, there were so many people going just, whoa, and like, 69, dude. That was just like awesome. The Matrix, no matter what you think of the subsequent sequels, just like astonishing, iconic character. John Wick, his like almost like chef's kiss of now he's been in 5 films, potentially 6 with John Wick Chapter 5 coming out. In case you're wondering, Ballerina, he's in that, which is from the world of John Wick. Right, those films. That's like 10 films there, right? I haven't done the counting, but yeah, that's 10 films straight away. Point Break, my favourite performance of his is Parenthood, because he has this monologue which just like destroys me. And it just plays this kind of loafing character, and then suddenly comes out with wicked monologue, and then like goes back into like, it goes like and then goes back into being like standard quote unquote Keanu. Constantine is really cool in, and Speed. You know, I've only seen Speed a couple of times, and I can understand why it's a lot of people's favourite films, but why do we pan him so much? Because he's always the same kind of character, I guess, ish. But also, is he?
I think he is more so now.
TA, where are you on Keanu?
Well, I think he gets panned for being sort of a little bit. He plays it very samey, doesn't he? No matter what he's doing, I remember him sort of being mimicked for that. Sort of comedians suggesting that he just sort of, you know, rocks up, looks a bit good and doesn't have a huge amount of range. But I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, Speed is certainly one of my favourites, obviously, as well as Rich. So I love him in that. It's in that film a lot. Point Break, certainly, and obviously the Bill and Ted. So, yeah, I think he's probably a bit hard done by. And then obviously the more modern ones of the John Wick. But he's a really nice guy if you read about him.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
So, you know, in reality, sort of Hollywood A-lister, actually, there's a lot to like about him as a person, and he's a bit unfairly criticised, actually.
There was that film also we've had on here. We need to somehow work out, Helen, how to like find all the directors, how many times the director's featured, how many times an actor's featured in our list, because we have had Keanu quite a lot, and there's that film Always Be My Maybe where he plays like an extended cameo, and that's really cool. That's against type, and you can tell he's having a lot of fun in that film. I'm sure there's other ones we've missed out where he's been on this. We've had a couple of John Wicks on this. We've had 2 and 3.
Have we? Oh, I can't remember them.
Yeah, still waiting for someone to pick John Wick 1
and
John Wick 4. Yeah, you're not that big fan of John Wicks, are you?
They're fine. I like The Matrix more.
Sure. So let's go back to The Matrix. Carrie-Ann Moss, Laurence Fishbourne, as he's called in this, formerly Larry Fishbourne, Joey Pants. I'm sorry.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving. Well, this is the first time I saw Hugo Weaving. And I'm sure I'd seen Carrie-Ann Moss before. Was it maybe Memento? It was the first time I saw her. But this, obviously, iconic role for her. She hasn't done as much as we'd probably hope her to do post this. But this, it's just everything about it. Everything pulls together. Wachowski's on firing on all cylinders. Special effects, astonishing. And just the rule of cool up to the hilt, right? It's just like really like game changing, and like so many people copied this afterwards. Even though they took a lot from the wire work from Hong Kong, suddenly there were a lot of films in the Hollywood films which suddenly had the wire work in them and looked great as well. I enjoyed them as well. Like Romeo Must Die, it was like, sure, let's have more wire work in them because it looks cool on film. And the one thing that I feel is a loss in the film is that one of the characters, because at the time the Wachowskis both knew they were trans characters, trans people, one of the characters in this was supposed to be trans. So in The Matrix, they were one gender, and in real life, they're the other. I can't remember which way around it was. But the character Switch, and kept the name Switch, was supposed to be portrayed by a male and female actor. And I was like, I wonder what that would have been like in 1999. It would have blown some people's minds. It probably would have been a big talking point of the film, distractingly so, and annoyingly so, but I still would have loved it to have been a thing. I didn't really understand or know transsexuality in any way, shape or form then, so it probably would have like got into my head in a strange way. But yeah, this film's like, love it. Thanks for choosing it. It's going to have some high scores, from me at least.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting you talk about that, because there's a lot of people who've talked about it since, and how it being like a real kind of awakening for them, and about how they were feeling. And yeah, just watching it now, I can kind of see that a lot more.
Yeah.
There's a bit where Agent Smith calls him by his dead name as well, and the significance of him calling him Mr. Anderson and him saying that his name is now Neo kind of really came through for me a lot more watching it on this time, and all the stuff around the red pill and the blue pill. But then also, it's also really weird how like the alt-right have attached themselves onto it as well. So it's one of those films where the red pill and the blue pill is all about being woken up and being controlling, and it's like they've literally come out and said that it's actually about this, but like, knock yourself out, lads, if you want to go on believing it's about the woke left trying to control your mind. But also like stuff about AI as well, where they're talking about giving birth to AI and like we're inside the computer. Like, I love all that stuff about being inside the machine. So yeah, it just sometimes I feel with tech films like The Net maybe, that you can watch them and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about that. Whereas this, I'm more like, yes, maybe we are all in a big gloopy pod and we're like powering AI type stuff.
Yeah, love it. Rich, you want to say anything else before we head to the scores?
Just the one thing that I found really interesting in it was how many people kept popping up that had been in Australian soaps, because it was obviously filmed in Sydney. Yeah,
there was a lady with the white rabbit on her shoulder.
Yeah.
She was in Heartbreak High, was it?
She was in Heartbreak High, and she's now in Home and Away.
Actually, no, what are you talking about? Is Home and Away still going on?
You're referring to Aidan Nicodemu, I think, who has been in Home and Away for a very, very long time.
And then Matt Duran, who is Mouse in The Matrix, he played Damien in Home and Away, who was Irene's son.
That's where I must recognise him from then.
Yeah, not just from The Matrix.
I thought one of the interesting things about this was that Chad Stahelski played Keanu's stunt double and then went on to direct John Wick films.
Yeah. This is where they bonded and became friends. And it's kind of like testament to Keanu as well. It's like, hey, I like these guys I'm working with. Let's do something together.
I think as well, you've got the effects, as we've said, they've been parodied so much. The bullet time. I mean, even a couple of years later when like Smallville came out on TV, it was using bullet time effects that you'd never see on TV before. That it just inspired so much in just not only movies, but also in TV special effects going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I even saw like bullet time used in like wildlife nature documentaries. There's one where I remember like dolphins jumping out of the water and then they had the bullet time like sweeping around it like that. Definitely one of the most influential films that's ever been made. And with that, let's head to the score, shall we?
see you getting after your fitness goals. But what about those money goals? You can count on Credit Karma for a clear view of your finances and your progress, helping you see results so you can keep checking off those financial personal bests and find your way to money. Progress never felt so good. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on. Download the app today.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
So the Flixwatcher scores, they're always out of 5. You can have decimal places, but we'll start with you, please, Rich, with your recommendability.
It's going to be no surprise it's a 5 for me. I absolutely love this film. I would recommend it to anybody, even those who don't like sci-fi, I'm sure. But I think given, as we've said, some of the places that we're at now in the world with AI and the things that are going on, I think it's the perfect sort of film to recommend to people.
TA?
I'll give it a 4.
You seem begrudging. I mean, to be honest with you, are you happy with the 4?
No. Only because, I'll be honest, the bit that got me, having watched it so long later, was when you sit there and there's some of the things around AI and where we are with tech today, you think, well, that's actually, looking back, that was pretty impressive from a film released 26 years ago. And there's some really, really interesting themes that sort of, that run through it. So I do think it's a film worth watching that has some great effects. I do think it probably could have been a little bit shorter. It's another one of mine, but yeah, I'd give it a recommendation to watch as a 4.
Helen?
Absolutely a stone cold 5 for me on this one. And so did you say about like influences, like watching this, having seen Inception loads of times, there's lots of like scenes in that, like around like world building and techniques like that. So I think he's definitely seen The Matrix. And yeah, I just love, like, there's just so many cool bits, and the soundtrack as well. I think, is it the propeller heads when they're doing the kung fu training, and like the whole like kung fu thing where they're like, they're fighting, fight, yes, we want to watch them fight.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times I've said I know kung fu just come back randomly, just like the person in the queue next to me. I know kung fu. Show me. That's just like amazing. Guns, lots of guns. Yeah, do I give it a 5 though? Because there's definitely people who are haters. Very few of them. I couldn't recommend it to my parents, but let's go for 4.99999. Repeat viewing score. Rich?
It's another 5 from me. I can watch this film countless times and enjoy it every single time. I have to say, I bumped it up above Bill and Ted, which I had at number 2 on my top 5 Keanu. And I rewatched this and went, you know what, actually, yeah, this is the one. It's not beating Speed for me, but it's beating every other Keanu movie. Give it a 5.
Nice. TA?
I will go 3.5. 3.5.
So, I mean, you've seen it twice in 26 years, and this is a 3.5. That's does that suggest you're going to watch it again quite soon? In fewer than 26 years.
Yes, I probably would, only just to see how much more accurate it gets, I suppose, with the AI. Yeah, it's quite scary. So I would watch it again, I would say.
If you ever see any mechanical squids flying in the sky, then you'll be like, okay, that's definitely from The Matrix. I get that reference. Helen, repeat viewing score.
Or like if you see an identical black cat doing its thing. I think this is one of those films that is rewarding for the rewatching, but then also it's just like a lot of fun to rewatch some certain scenes. Like the scene where with the helicopter, when they basically take over the helicopter and machine gun the shit out of the place, and Morpheus does his big jump and he has to be caught, and then he grabs the thing with the helicopter and it smashes over and he holds her hanging off and she smashes into the screen. It's just like amazing. So good. A 5.
I mean, just even look, the very first scene when you see Trinity and she does that jump and the bullet time. And if you had no idea that was coming, that would have been like, back in 1999, that was a proper like, what the actual fuck is happening? This is, apart from for TA,
That's a little, I do have an appreciation for some of the effects. And I did end up comparing this film a little bit. I felt like the Neo character is a bit sort of John Connor, sort of Terminator 2 type scenario, which is a film I do really love. So I do appreciate the effects, and I appreciate also the fact they've stood the test of time, because I hate films that do really bad effects. So it's not that at all. It's just the overall bits for me that was a little bit ploddy and could have been a bit tighter. So I don't hate the film. I think I'm getting a reputation out of the four of us here. But I'm just a little bit closer to it's not one of my favourites.
I'm going to go 5 for repeat viewing score. Small screen score, Rich.
Purely just because I haven't seen it at the cinema, I have to give it 4.9. Just take that one little point off. It might drop if I see it at the cinema, just for how it translates, obviously, on the big screen. But I think it works really well. I think the effects really do carry over on a smaller screen, and the soundtrack works fantastically, especially if you've got the right sort of speaker system. You really get the sort of translation a little bit on a smaller scale, but you get that translation from the cinema with that.
TA.
See, I think some of the scenes in this are more for the big screen, or would be more appreciated on the big screen, but you can still watch it on the small screen, because again, there are a lot of sequences in the film that don't require the big screen. But yeah, so I'd probably go 3.6.
Helen.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you managed to see it in was it the 4K release that you saw, Kobe?
Me?
Yeah.
I can't remember what specific format it was, but
perhaps last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. I remember we didn't have a cinema in Burton at the time, so it was being redone, so we had to go over to Derby to go and watch it. So I made the little special trip to go and watch it. And had it not been in there, I think I definitely would have immediately tried to go and see it again, because it was that kind of experience for me watching it on the big screen. But then since it was like one of the first DVDs, I think it was probably the first DVD that I bought. So there's something about that relationship of being able to watch films not on a VHS quality at home that kind of shifted the entire experience for me. So I'm going to give it a 4 for small screen, because I feel that for a lot of people that DVD was probably their first DVD experience at home, and getting to watch that crystal clear.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, 4. I want to give it higher, but it's just a film that's awesomely made for cinema. But yeah, I've only seen it once in the cinema, so 1 out of like a million times. Can I really give it such a low score? I'm going to give it 3.7. I think it was genuinely my first DVD that I bought. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And at that time, the TVs were crap, and I played it on my computer monitor. So I had my little VHS 14-inch combo, and then had a TV monitor with a Blu-ray. So I had all the entertainment in our house when I was at university. And look back to that now. If I think about that now, that just horrifies me at how quaint that probably is as a setup. But I fucking loved it. And because it was a DVD, then it transferred to the first time I got, a flat screen TV, and I'm sure I played the shit out of it then. DVDs are hokey now though, aren't they? Like 720p and like not even...
I haven't watched a DVD in a while. I haven't got the tools for it anymore.
No, that's it. I love to go to the Criterion closet, but I'd be like, I can't play any of this. I can't. I haven't got anything that connects to my TV that does it. I have to get like a special hard drive out of that cupboard back there to plug a DVD in like a disc player into this computer, because nothing I have has that anymore. Okay, I'm going to go for 3.7. Engagement score. Rich?
I'm going with a 5. I think from the very start, when you see Trinity in that scene, like you say, she's jumping through the air, the camera's moving around with the bullet time effect. it just sets the tone straight away. And then you're very quickly into Neo being chased by the agents. And there's just so much in that, even when he's caught by them and they're kind of manipulating his physiology to stop him being able to sort of get away. And even the tracker that's put into him, you just can't stop watching. It's just throughout the entire film. I don't think there's a point that I was bored at all on the rewatch. And like I say, I've seen it about 7 or 8 times.
TA?
I'm going to go for 3.8. And I do actually still have a DVD player. And my wife has the trilogy of this on DVD.
My brother he bought this trilogy and then he went away. I can't remember. He was like, do I want it? I was like, no, not really. Because I just knew I'd just watched the first one. I already had the first one, so I don't want to create more space on my DVD shelf for something I know I'm not going to watch. Is it actually a DVD player or is it a Blu-ray that also accepts DVD?
No, it sounded very antiquated here. It is a DVD player.
Interesting. That must be worth a lot. Antiques Roadshow. Helen, engagement score.
It's a 5. I also think that, it's one of those ones that is like, at the time it was all like about Easter eggs and like finding those little bits to go back and those like things you missed the first time round. But yeah, even though it is 2 hours, it kind of zips past through me. And I think that's maybe because I've not seen it in a while. But yeah, I really don't know how I'd feel about the sequels. Definitely, I saw the sequels once at the cinema and I haven't revisited them. And I didn't see the 4th one at the cinema either. So yeah, I'm very much, this is the one for me that I haven't really got that much love or connection to the others.
I think that's completely fair. I've gone for a 5. I think I've only seen the sequels once. I've seen some clips from the sequels on YouTube, or some scenes are still pretty cool, but then the stories just get convoluted because this is so straightforward, this story. And I think that's where it's not necessarily the special effects, which I think get worse as the series goes on. But I think the story just gets really like complex and unnecessarily so. Whereas this was like, find the one, get him to realise he's the one, save the world, ish being said is enough for like sequels if there needs to be one. But the other ones just go into like too many layers of like fucking lore. And you're like, well, come on, mate, just let's get him fighting the agents. That's all we want. That gives us an overall score of 4.53119, which is decent. Do we want to have a look on the scoreboard, Ellen?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to make it into the top 10 because you need to be a 4.7er to be in there. So this is going to be sitting around, let's see what kind of Matrix sandwich. So it's a sandwich between Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and Widows. So it will sit in between those two films on the Flixwatcher scores, but I don't know how far that is.
Yeah, so that is like 20
in the 20s.
Yeah, 15, 20-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't lose that much in the small screen, actually. It's just a general, lost a few chunks along the way.
You can say it, Kobe, it's me. Rich is looking at me going, it was fun while it lasted, the Middle-aged Bodcast, but I'm never going to forgive you for this.
24 years of friendship over.
Do you want me to read everyone's average score? So, Rich, your average score is 4.975 out of 5. Ellen's is 4.75 out of 5. Mine's 4.67475. And TA's is 3.72500. So that's where it took a few whacks out of the chunk there. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for finally someone picking The Matrix. And can you please tell us and the listeners where we can find you guys online? TH, we'll go to you first. Or Rich, we'll go to you first because it's your choice of film.
Yeah, so we are online on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else where you get your podcasts from. Just search for the Middle-aged Bodcast. And we're on Twitter/X, shall we say, which is on @MidAgedBodcast. We're also on Instagram, also on Middle-aged Bodcast. And you can find us on middleagedbodcast.co.uk as well.
Perfect. Anything else to add there, TA?
No, other than say that as well as the Middle-aged Bodcast, I am on all the same platforms as T.A Shelano, and actually got a website, shelanobooks.co.uk as well, but that's more for the author.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to yourselves and about The Matrix.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye. Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.